now it's time to be dangerous. Now it's time to get risky. Now it's time to truly find out what you're made of and what you could achieve. Now it's time to truly find out how many lives you can impact. Now it's time to find out what you were destined to become.
Welcome back, everybody, to Raw Minds. I'm your host, Eric, and we're here to talk about life the way it really is. The pressure, the pain, and how to push through it. If you're tuning in, do me a favor, comment, share this episode, and if it hits you, give it a follow. That's how we keep this message alive and reach people around the world that needs to hear it the most. Today's guest is Garrett Wood. He's a clinical hypnotherapist, exclusive coach and a wellness coach with almost 20 years of experience. Garrett works with people who seem strong on the outside, but are fighting battles on the inside, like burnout, stress, and feeling like they're never enough. What I respect about Garrett is that he doesn't just tell people be strong. He helps them face what's really going on and how to use the fuel for growth. So I just want to say welcome in, Garrett, and welcome to Raw Minds, brother.
Hey,
how's it
Eric,
going?
thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Thank
Excited
you.
to be here.
Thank you. At the start, I get all my guests. I want you to plug all your info that you want to put out there so people know how to get a hold of you. So if you want to go ahead and do that, please do.
Yeah, if they want to follow me on LinkedIn, super professional version of themselves, they could follow me at Gnosis Therapy. That's Gnosis. The G is silent on that. Same thing on Instagram. If they want to be a little more informal or personable, they can follow me there. Same thing, Gnosis Therapy. Website's gnosistherapy.com. And my email, same thing. It's my first name, 2 R's, 2 T's, Garrett at gnosistherapy.com. My mom's a little extra, so she gave me a couple extra consonants in my name there. So, yeah.
It's okay. I got a K at the then, right? So I'm ERICK. So I feel you on that, brother. I feel you. So please tell us a little bit about yourself and, like your journey and what got you into hypnotherapist and all the other stuff that you're doing.
Yeah, I've been working with people, coaching them, since 2007. When I first got into it, I was coaching people, health and fitness mostly. So trying to get them moving again, feeling good. For me at the time, that was how I got through all of my stuff. You're trying to do the mental math. We pull out the calculator, but when it's emotions, sometimes we don't always do that on paper. We don't always journal. We don't do all of those things. We don't recruit someone else to work us through it. We try to handle it all ourselves. And so for me at the time, that was lifting and running. That's how I kind of got myself feeling good. I got so good at it that I felt like I could help other people avoid some of the mistakes I made, beat my body up. But I was definitely working at the wrong end of some of my own stuff that I had going on at the time. Even though it worked, it was like the long way around to get through to the thing that was helping me. So my journey personally has been one of trying to get, closer to the center, get a more specific intervention for a more specific, tool that I actually need. Eventually that led to hypnotherapy. But at the time, I was working in a corporate office. I was overseeing a bunch of people. I had some big budgets and P&Ls. I thought I was doing well. According to the paperwork, I was doing well. According to my relationships, not so much. According to the car I drove and my bank account, sure. According to how I felt in my body, not so much. So I was trying to reconcile those two things. And my sleep was really challenged at the time. So I came across an idea that like non-sleep deep rest was like a really effective way to get more of the good stuff from sleep without all the time commitment. Because who needs all the time commitment to sleep, right? Trying to be more efficient. So come to find out, that state is the state of hypnotherapy. It's a state of hypnosis. So I met up with a hypnotherapist. They took me through 5 sessions and I got better rest. But at the end of 90 days, my life was a lot different. My back was feeling much better. Like chronic pain was gone. My relationship was on the mend. It's always a work in progress, right? Mm-hmm. But what was really interesting to me is like my hours of commitment at work were going down and how it felt to be at work. It was less stress for me. But even more than that, the team leaders that I was in charge of, their relationships were affected by it, and the people that they led was affected by it. So that was really fascinating, that how big of a jerk I was. You fix some of that stuff with my own well-being, my own personal life, and then to see that ripple out effect of how many other people it affected, and then, also the people that they worked with and served. So it was pretty cool to be able to see that kind of change in myself. And I was hooked. I was like, oh man, this is the real deal. This is something that I never thought was real. Like, what is happening? Yeah. So I went back to school and once again, continued that process for a long time. So, and then in 2018, I opened a clinic for myself where I started working with, people that were like me, my former self, trying to help them get better and get through the BS that bogs us down.
See, this really fascinates me because I've actually gone to hypnotherapy My
Awesome.
friend, I just went one session.
Yeah.
I wish I went more, to be honest with you. So sorry, Amy, and shout out to Amy. But she was just doing her schooling and getting into it, and then
Yeah.
she was just finishing and moved in. She moved into one of her places, one of her practices that she does. Or I think that's what it's called.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. I mean, it blew me away. Like, it really blew me away. I went in there like thinking, oh yeah, you know, I'll be honest with you, like a hypno, because I see this stuff on TV. Like, is she gonna make me like quacking like a duck, like walking around? You know what I mean? Like, because this is what you see on TV, right? But you don't know, you don't really know.
Yeah.
So she walked me through it, and I'm telling you, like, first it was in like a deep meditation, and it just brought me into this very complex, and then we went into some very deep childhood stuff, you know, and we touched on a lot of my dad's stuff in the first session. It was a great first session, to be honest with you, because I said, let's just go. We've known each other for a long time, right? And she's done Reiki and all these other things too, right? So I was like, let's just dive right in there, right? So let's figure this out, and we kind of did.
Nice.
And it was I woke up with tears in my eyes, man, I'll tell you, and it was very powerful. So I'm very excited to have this conversation. Can just, you know, like, you can inform me a little bit more. Yeah, so this would be great.
It's so cool. I heard a couple things there in your share. That one, you knew this person for a while, so there's a lot of rapport there, a lot of trust, a lot of safety. You knew her best intentions for you and vice versa. So that makes it really easy to be able to relax into that deep state. And your willingness to go there and your own pursuit of kind of knowing what that landscape looks like a little bit makes it a little easier to navigate like that so quickly. But like you said, you woke up with tears in your eyes. A lot of people think that hypnosis is some like weird, strange power or some hoax, because it's not that, right? One of the two. But really, if you're laughing or crying at a movie, or you're listening to music and you get chills, that's also a state of hypnosis. It's this like deep, focused awareness where this external stimuli is getting a response from your nervous system that's affecting you on an emotional level. When you're watching a movie, you may know that actor's name, you even may know their like personal history and their relationships and their court drama now, because we have so much access to these celebrities. But that doesn't stop us from laughing or crying at the character they're portraying in that moment. And when we're engaging with a work of art like that, it's kind of natural. We like kind of let ourselves go and we feel it. But it's even more powerful when it's your own imagination. You know, everyone who reads the book versus watches the movie, they're like, oh, the movie sucks. Because in their mind, that image that they had, that world they went into of their own creating is way more powerful than anything they could see projected to them. So hypnotherapy is really powerful that way, because it's your own images. And so I was talking about like the long way around how to get to that therapeutic process and trying to short circuit that a little bit, get more effective. That idea of being in there with your own imagination, with your own thoughts, your own experience. I mean, songs, movies, all that stuff can move us, but that stuff moves us because it's in here already, right? Yeah. And so that's why it's effective. So hypnotherapy is pretty cool because it gets there.
And it's like, it's not like you're like, don't get me wrong, it wasn't like I woke up, but I mean like woke up out of the session, because I wasn't like asleep like what you would think, you know what I mean? Like, I'm still conscious, but like I'm in this, it's almost like your subconscious is talking, you know, and that's what it is. It's like that, what is it, the Avengers movie or whatever, Deadpool, or like, it's got the hand in the head, you know what I mean? And control, like that, I forget the Marvel, one of those movies. Yeah. And that's what it felt like. Like she had her hand in my head and like picking apart, like it was, and picking these things out. It was pretty wild, man, to be honest with you. And it's like, so I wasn't like, I was still aware, but I wasn't at the same time. You know what I mean? It was almost like I did a sound bath. I've had Jenny on here and I've talked about it before. And it was the same thing. I don't know if you ever had a sound bath before, but yeah. So you know what I mean? You go in this like meditative sleep like journey, but at the same time you're kind of still there, you know? So it's pretty it's powerful, man. It's I just wanted to let everybody know that's listening. It's not like you're like asleep and like you're like all like right out. Like you know what I mean? You are conscious to an extent, I guess. I don't know if you can maybe explain that a little bit just so people can understand too.
Yeah, there's tons of stages of like conscious awareness. It's not just one.
Yeah.
Some people think of like octopus. They think each one of those arms have a different type of consciousness, and then they're all communicating back to the brain, and the brain's making decisions like an octopus. We think of ourselves as like, no, I'm this like spirit, the soul inside of a machine pulling the levers, right? That's like what we've inherited from Western psychology and philosophy for a long time. But really, we had a ton of different levels of awareness and consciousness. Like if you touch a hot stove, your hand instantly pulls back. We don't have to think about it. We don't have to go, my hand is warm. Uh-oh, if I leave it here, it's going to burn. If I leave it here even more, it's going to burn. Like, if that's how our consciousness worked, we'd be in so much trouble. We wouldn't be evolved to where we are right now, right? Yeah.
Definitely.
And so this idea of like, man, I could have got up and walked away from that sound bath if I wanted to. Same thing in hypnosis. You want to scratch your nose, you want to like yawn, you want to like open your eyes, look around, crack your neck, lay back down. You're in full control of your body. There's no mind control that way. But when we're talking about the call and recall, like that echo of those images, it's almost the same thing of like music or poetry, where they're saying those words and those words land or pull something out of you. And then someone else is experiencing that. Same thing when people go to art museums. I'm not an art museum guy. I go to an art museum and I look at the thing and I'm like, cool, that looks like they spent a lot of time on that. Oh, it's worth millions? Good for them. But like, it doesn't do much for me. Music, I can feel a lot more than I can with other art forms. But all of that works because it's in us. It's pulling something out. It's accessing something that's already there live in us. And so in hypnotherapy, it's that call, recall. It's just like playing that game a little bit with someone.
It's like a trigger almost, right? It's like, but the right kind of trigger, you know, it's
100%.
not a bad one. Yeah. Or like the key, right? Like a key to ignite this beautiful transition that may happen, right? If you put the work into it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I wanna, because you work out, you talk about burnout and stuff, and you deal with burnout, right? With it.
Yep.
So in simple words, what is burnout to you?
Yeah. So the World Health Organization talks about workout as like too much work and performance, like actually doing the job well without enough support or recovery. Right. So if we were to think about this, like you got a blue collar job, you show up, you got to like do some real work today, but your back's not doing well. And you don't get time off, and they don't have an occupational therapist on there to like get your back feeling better before you have to get through your shift that day. But your life depends on it. Your paycheck depends on it. And then someone's being a jerk and you don't want to get fired. So you got to hold all that in. That is all of the factors that kind of show up that lead to burnout eventually over time, where you're like, man, I did all this work. I'm not paying the bills, doing all this work. No one's appreciated me. Doing all this work. My body's falling apart. It's not paying the bills and no one's appreciated me. What the hell am I doing this work for? That's that like cynicism that shows up. That's like a key component of burnout. And really, even though it's like a workplace phenomenon, it doesn't stop when you clock in and out of your job. It follows you home, right? It's there in every single one of your relationships because it's there with you. So you take it to all of your relationships, with your friends, with your family, with your dog. For me, that's how I know I'm always like, when I'm a little short with a dog, I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, we've been hitting a little too hard. We need to slow it back down. This is still just a dog. It's an innocent little furry creature. You're the jerk here. Let's bring it back. What's going on? You're not getting enough support, right? And a lot of people that work hard and like put in the effort and really care, they're the most susceptible to burnout because they're the ones really putting in that effort, and they're not always the one raising their hand asking for help or support when they need it. They might be willing to ask for it if it's offered, but to go out of their way preemptively to be like, hey, for me to get through my day, this is what I need. That usually doesn't show up. They're willing to like sacrifice whatever they need to get through. And if you do that long enough, eventually you do burn out. That's the hard part for most of them.
And it comes, I would guess, in all forms too, because I loved my job. Like when I had my own company and stuff. And that was the thing is like, I was so excited. I took on everything. But I mean, I wore every hat in my company from like, I just got this. From, you know, like doing all my bills, my finance, scheduling, the hours, everything. I was doing it all. It definitely, I would say, burnt me out. And it was, like you said, multiple different things, you know. And I don't like construction anymore, man. You know, I really don't, you know. And like, I tried to do other things, and I was successful. I became a superintendent. But it's just, it doesn't fill my bucket anymore. You know, it just doesn't fill my bucket, and I walked away from it. I'm trying to figure out what I want to do now. Maybe some kind of support work or do something, right? I want to give back to the community and help, and something that fills my bucket, right? So, I mean, I could see, you know, I put all this in and it just ruined it, I guess, a big portion of it for me too. You know, it burnt it out and it just didn't see. And that happened as well when I was coming out of school and I was a bodyman for a while, you know, and I put so much in it and it just, I burnt out from, you know, the love of wanting to do it. You know what I mean? And it, not even just my body, I'm saying, but like my mindset is burnt out of just not like, I'm over it. Right.
Yeah.
So I just want to say there's different scenarios of burnt out. Right?
For sure. And in some of those scenarios, like if you're asked to do something that you want to get it done, but you're told you have to do it in a way that you don't want to do it, and you don't have the autonomy to do it your way, that creates burnout. Like that's a driving force. A lack of autonomy is a real quick way to burn someone out. Like if you want to design the perfect scenario, threaten someone, make them have to do the job, tell them they can't do it the way they want to do it, even if it's a better way, especially if it's a better way. That no, we got to follow this process over here. And then at the end of it, tell them they did a terrible job at it and that you're going to like dock their pay. And now we're in trouble, right? That's one way to do it. But another way is interesting. You can take someone and be like, oh, you love this? Hey, it's all yours. Go for it. And leave them out there for themselves with no support, no guide rails, and then let them take care of it. They'll burn themselves out through their passion, through their love, through their genuine desire to see it done well. That, I think, is the sneaky one for a lot of people, especially like small business owners, entrepreneurs, and even executives. They're like, finally, I'm the boss. And they're not even a bad boss, right? But it's a lot. It is so much. And we can overestimate our ability to do it in a short amount of time. And if we don't get enough of that support, or if we have a bad couple of days or a bad couple of weeks, like every business is going to have, and there's not something else out here to buoy that out, all of your eggs are in that basket and you tumble down the hill and some of those eggs crack, that's dangerous. That's almost as dangerous, if not more so, than the other scenario that we talked about with burnout. So it sounds like, you know, in both of those scenarios, it does begin with wanting to do a good job, like wanting to make a difference. That's the hard part, is it's like good intentioned. Right? People that don't care don't get burned out.
Well, you nailed it, because like I was working as a carpenter actually on this job, and I mean I'm building this elevator free form, right? Just 2x4s and plywood, right? It's going up 2 stories. It's a small little guy, and this guy comes in, he tells me, no, I can't build it that way. I can't build it this way. Blah 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 blah. Right? I'm building it the proper way. And how you build an elevator is you build it from the inside, right? So then the steel guys can come, they put their steel on the outside, then you close it up, right?
Yeah.
Well, this guy comes over to me and he's like, no, you build the outside first. What are you doing? I'm like, are you serious? I'm like, how are the steel guys? Because they got the long bars, they got to shift them through, right? Like, how are you supposed to how are they supposed? It's not our problem. They can put holes in the form. What do you mean holes in the form? Then we got to patch no, they got to patch. Like, what is going on here? I literally actually got fired from that job because I called my boss and I told him this guy's an idiot. And this guy was, he was working on our site and running our job because he had a total station. We call it like a robot. So it's like a survey, right? And we needed it. So the only reason he was in charge, he's like, well, I'm going to run the job because I have the total station. And he was a framer. I was a concrete foreman, forming carpenter, right? So it's 2 different. And it was a nightmare. And then he got me fired. He got 3 other people fired because they were calling him out on his bullshit all the time. I'm telling you, man. So I know when you're telling that story, man, it was... I was like, yes, I felt that. I was there, you know, and stuff like that discourages you too, definitely, you know. So if I just wanted to put my little 2 bits in there because I felt that was a real thing there.
Well, and then it soils you for like wanting to go back and do more, because you get 2 or 3 of those guys and you're like, man, why am I doing this?
Yeah. And then like, or I had like, okay, so this other freeform elevator I did, and it was, I'm telling you, these were the best I've ever done. It's like with even out with bracing, like this thing was amazing. Everybody was coming over. They were just like checking out how I built it because it locked in. It wouldn't even move. I didn't even need braces, right? And I just lapped my 2x4s properly. And then I stripped it all, and the boss comes by and I'm like, look, and this thing was like perfect. And he comes up and he's like, yeah, that's your job. That's what it's supposed to be. I was like, wow, like, okay. I mean, I get it. It is my job. But I mean, it's pretty powerful to do it without the braces. You know what I mean? And there it is again. You know, even though you did something amazing, people still can kick you, you know, and it will affect you. Definitely, man. So gotta be careful with those, man.
There's a bunch of different construction style, or not constructive conversational styles, right? So like if you got a kid and they're happy about a picture they painted and they're showing it to you, right? And you're stressed out, you're doing your day and you're like, oh, cool. You're not being a jerk, but you're also not like slowing down and engaging and like pulling them in, right? And so it's kind of dismissive. It's not quite as bad as what you got in that moment where they were like, yeah, it's your job. What do you want? Oh, cookie, do your job. You get a paycheck. We pay you, right? And you're like, yeah, I know you pay me, but like I could have been a jerk. I could be a jerk to everybody around me, but I did a good job. I'm not a jerk. Like all I'm asking is for you to be like, hey, what do you think? Yeah, looks good, Eric. Nice job. Like how hard is that, right? And if your kid comes up and they're excited about something, if you've had enough sleep, you're well rested, you're not in the middle of some type of emergency, you can be like, oh, that's so cool. What do you like about that painting? Oh, what was your favorite part about it? Oh, what do you want to do with it? Where do you want to put it up at? Oh, like, and it takes that person, that appreciative like conversation, and takes them back into a moment where they're creating it, and it builds it up, and it makes it easier for them to be able to access that in the future. And that's what we're doing for little kids all the time if we do it well. But we don't stop being those little kids. And in fact, the less we got of it when we were kids, the more we're still looking for it as adults. And so often we'll go above and beyond to make that thing as good as we can possibly make it, just so maybe someone will tell us that, to satisfy that need that we never got when we were a little kid. And that's like a normal thing that we all do, but sometimes it leads to some like frustrating dynamics out there on the job site, right? Yeah.
I noticed that though, even about my daughter, like if like I do something for her and then like she gets to go home and show it off at school, and then she'll come back like, what did they say? You know what I mean? So I definitely, and I live, the great thing about having kids, man, ever since I was 16 years old, I've always wanted to be a dad, right? Because I didn't have a great, fatherhood. So I wanted to have that and be able to experience that with, with and it's so cool because I get to live this life through her eyes. You know what I mean? And now I can watch cartoons and people won't make fun of me. You know what I mean? So it's all good. I'm just joking about that. No one does, but but it's just, it's great, right? It's great, so.
That's awesome. Yeah. Cause now you get a second chance to see all that stuff and see it light up.
Exactly. Yeah. So tell me a little bit more of like your practice, like what do you do, and like what other avenues you guys, if you can, please.
Yeah. So a lot of times people are burned out because they do care, and they're caring too much. They're giving themselves too much of themselves. Usually starts off pretty well intentioned, right? Like their values and the organization's values seem like they're pretty aligned, but then the organization continues to drift a little way. And so they're like caring for a team, their team's well-being, but then these directives come down and they have to change something up with their team. And so they like start feeling a little bit misaligned with the organization. And there's like real studies out there that the larger that gap is between the people on the organization's values, the personal ones, and then the ones of the organization, the bigger gap there is, the harder it is for everybody to do their job. And so it shows up on bottom lines. It just, the same work gets done. It just takes 2 to 3 times longer. The effort, the emotion, the absenteeism, the lack of excitement. Because when we're enthusiastic and feeling good and engaged, we can get a lot done in a short amount of time. But if we're feeling not really aligned, it takes a whole heck of a lot more work emotionally just to be okay. And so sometimes that shows up. We'll see that happen a lot for people. Sometimes it's those beliefs that they've had when they're a kid where they're like, I have to do everything myself or it won't get done, or I have to be perfect. And if I'm not perfect, nothing's okay. Or if I don't have this title or this job or this position or this income, then who am I, right? And so when I was working for a pretty large organization, I had a colleague there that worked. He'd been there for about 20 years, or the organization's 25 years. And he was like kind of someone we all looked up to. We didn't work directly in the same. We worked parallel in different departments. But when I'd have a rough day, I'd take a look at, he'd be on the spreadsheet higher than me. His numbers were always better than mine. I'm like, man, how's this guy doing it? This is hard. And he just makes it look easy. He's been doing it for way longer than I have. What's his secret, right? And so that went on for a long time. He was kind of like a little, had a little rivalry internally with myself and him. And right. It was good. It helped me like push myself a little bit harder. But I was going through a rough time, like I mentioned. And then I was in a meeting because he'd gotten let go pretty suddenly. Like, I don't know what happened. I don't know the details of it. But all of a sudden I'm in a meeting with his replacement 2 weeks later since he's been let go. And I'm sitting there in that meeting and I'm like, man, that was wild. What's going on here? And in that meeting, we all got notice that he had decided to take his own life. And we were kind of shocked by that. Because here I am thinking that this guy's got it all together. I know personally how challenging it is for me, and he's always leading the board. And then I'm in this meeting, and we get the word that he'd given so much of himself and identity to that title, that position, his team for so long for that organization, that when he didn't have any of that, there wasn't enough left of him in his own life that he felt like was worth keeping around for. And that's like when it like clicked. Not only is it like, this is not okay in this moment, doing more of this isn't okay for me or for anybody. That this idea of like sacrifice for success at the expense of like living a life for our own well-being isn't worth it. And so that idea of having to choose between, hey, am I in a good enough mood to hang out with my daughter and encourage her to have this engagement, watch some cartoons with her, and live life? If I can't show up and be with her for those moments, why am I not doing this thing over here at all? And so that's kind of pretty quick after that, I opened my own clinic and started helping people make sure that they didn't end up going down that road. And so trying to catch it ahead. of that curve,
And that happens a lot. Like, I actually just I was doom scrolling, I think yesterday, and I saw it was a NFL player that played for the Miami Dolphins. I think it was number 21. I don't know his name, but he traded him. So they brought him in, and like, the rumors are true. You're getting traded. And he's like, can I call my grandma? And they're like, calm down. Hold on. Let's just figure this out first. Blah, blah, blah. He ended up unaliving himself not long after, because that's all he knew, like that organization, everything like that, right? And I mean, especially in football, they're gonna trade you. You're gonna have to move. Your life starts all over again. It's like, I mean, yeah, you make lots of money. Like, I'm a big football fan, right? Huge football fan. And yeah, you make lots of money, all this glam, whatever. But it's a lonely life too, because that's it, right? And then you have to go where you get traded. So you're just a piece of meat, I guess, to the NFL, I guess. Sorry to say, because I love football, but I mean, it's kind of true right there. So a lot of stress.
A lot of stress. And that's kind of the hard part, is like a lot of organizations, whether it's an NFL or a specific team or even a coach, they build a reputation on the player's skills and talent, right? Their job is to find it, encourage it, right? But if that player can't continue to maintain that, and they don't have anything else outside of that, and then they're just kind of leftovers, and then the continuation of that organization, that team, goes on without them. I mean, that's how we have histories of, I don't know, I'm not the biggest football fan, but I know that there's some strong, big histories out there. The Green Bay Packers, there's this like little sandwich shop that's like family run, and I go in there and that's all they ever have. Like, it's memorabilia everywhere. I guarantee you they have never seen one incident of one game of one play for the entire duration of that. And it's like a legacy. Like, they're tapped in. And every little person that works at family owned, grandma, great grandma, like kids running around, they all have different eras of their favorite players, their favorite quarterbacks. So you see them all wearing the jerseys with their favorite QB on it. And it's cute to see that. But I think about those people that didn't make it in that organization. They got let go by it. And that organization continues on without them. And it's not so much that like that's terrific and it's tragic, but it's not that it has to happen that way. Like, that person, that player could have had something else. But how much do they give up in the pursuit of that, and how much was left over for them? And like, that gap right there is trying to figure out how to increase your well-being to make sure that gap is able to navigate when things change. Because with football, rates of injury are really high, really, really high. Yeah, careers are really short. So
I was one of the top goalies in the Lower Mainland here in BC. In my age group, I was just turned 17, and I was supposed to go to play for some farm team in England, try out for them. My dad was the head of Burnaby Heights Soccer Club, and he also helped a little bit with the 86ers back in the day. So I grew up with like Carl Valentine, Benarduzzi. I can't even speak. Anyways, those guys. Yeah. So I grew up with a soccer ball at my feet. And third shot on net, man, dove, hit the goalpost, dislocated my shoulder, and I never played soccer again. I was weeks away from getting on an airplane and flying to England, and maybe my life changing. And I played soccer for one season years after, and I said, it's just not, I can't do it. And the only reason why I went is because I was at like the P&E or Playland. That's like the shitty version of Disneyland over here.
Okay.
Or Canada Wonderland, but really, really small version. It's just our city version. And they had this like palm reader, and the girl I was seeing at the time, she's like, let's get her palm reader. Let's get her, right? I was like, whatever, right? So whatever. So we'll go in there, she one at a time. So I go in there, and the lady grabs my hand. She's like, you used to be good at something. And I didn't even say a word at her first. She's like, you used to be good at something. And I'm thinking in my head, okay, where is she going? She's like, something with like sports, and like, you would like catch a ball with your hand. And it's kind of blowing me away. And like, I'll be totally honest with you, man. Like, I don't really, I'm not really into this, right? But I mean, it's just like, I don't know if she just caught a coincidence and she just ran with it. Who knows? But she's like, you were used to be really good. She like, but if you go back, you won't be as good, but you'll still be pretty good. And that kind of like clicked in my brain. So I went and played, and I said, no, fuck this. Because then I started smoking at that time. So I was smoking. I was like, on the side, and it was not good. And then actually my first game, before we're like, you practice at the start, and a guy kicked the ball, and I reached out my leg and I pulled my groin. So right before the game even started, but I was playing a striker at that time. So I hopped over. There's a London Drugs. I hop over London Drugs, go get some Tiger Bomb, hop back over, go to put Tiger Bomb. I think you can think about what happened after. And I was in a lot of pain. I missed the point and hit two other guys down there. And that was,
Man.
yeah. The second half, I was okay actually, and I walked it off. It wasn't a bad pull, and I got back on. I played a little bit, and it was like, oh man. But that was my first time back into the game. But
That's a rough
yeah,
back end.
yeah,
Yeah.
man, yeah,
Yep. Yeah. But that transition from being like identifying as an athlete to like, okay, I guess my life's changing from here. And then later,
yeah,
that part of you is still there, right? It's like latent, hanging out in the background. Got kicked off
yeah,
by that lady, but I'm like, no, you're still an athlete, and you still are.
yeah,
There's still a part of you that is.
yeah.
It's just how do you show up and use it? What do you use it for? Kind of interesting.
Maybe not this dad bod anymore, though. I'll tell you that. Maybe not that. Like I will be honest. Like some of the guys when I was a finishing superintendent at a job site, and a bunch of the guys they go play soccer after. And they're younger and like, oh yeah, okay, come on. So like, oh my god, man, I ran for about 15 minutes. That was it. They're like, Sir Erick, pass Sir Erick the ball. I was like, no, don't pass me the ball. No, I'm over it.
Trying to be
I'm
inclusive.
over it.
Yeah, give him the
Yeah,
ball. Yeah, and you're like, no, not immediately. No,
yeah,
don't give me the
yeah, yeah. I'm like, I gotta go. My daughter's waiting for me. I gotta go. Yeah, I
That's
was like,
awesome.
yeah, okay. It looks like you look at it and you see these guys. I'm like, oh yeah, I used to be able to do that. And then you get out there and you're like, fuck. No.
But that I think right there shows like we only have this like fetishized version of what it means to be athletic. Like you have to be, going for the gold at the peak of your performance or nothing. And like you can still gain muscle in your 70s. They have studies out there. They take an untrained 70-year-old, you put them on some strength training, they're going to get stronger, right? So when I'm scrolling, you talk about doom scrolling the other day. Anytime I see someone who looks like they have any gray hair on their head and they're doing something athletic, I don't care how silly they look doing it. I'm just like, yep, like, save, share. Let's encourage the crap out of this behavior because, yeah, you're never going to be a 20-year-old again. But you don't need to be a 20-year-old to be an athlete. I mean, who cares, right? If you were out there on the field with a bunch of other guys in their 40s or their 60s, you'd have been the young buck kicking ass, taking names, who knows? But there's not those adult leagues. So it's like chicken or an egg with this stuff. So I'm always trying to encourage people that well past the 20-year-old athletic to keep their head up and keep playing. Because you can still honor part of that, and maybe it's just a lot more. Maybe instead of 10 people on the team, it's 200 people on the team, so everyone gets their 2 minutes and then back out.
And I'll be the goalie, so I don't have to run that much. Like I should have stayed in net. You know what I mean? I should have stayed in net, not running around. I mean, and don't get me wrong. Like I love it. Like that's why. Like I was like, yeah. And if they did it again, I would run out there again and have my 15 minutes of fame and then cough it off and go sit down. But I mean, that's what keeps us young, right? You gotta have some fun, and I think that's where the world is really, excuse my language, fucked up right now, is because we forget about, at the end of the day, you said we're just kids inside, big kids, really, you know what I mean? And we forget to have fun. All at one point we had imagination playing with either figurines or something or whatever, you know what I mean? Whatever it was, imaginary friends, whatever your thing was, we had that. Now we're all fighting each other and stressed out and burnt out and just, our mental health is at the highest right now. We're losing people over, things that we shouldn't be losing people over, and it's just, it's sad, man. It's sad. So on that note, thank you, man, for, doing what you're doing and helping the community. So I just want to say that.
No, I appreciate that.
So can you run down kind of like a little bit of like an example of like, so people that don't know much about hypnotherapy, like, so if someone want to try it, they're not scared, maybe like walk them through of how like the procedure would happen, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So
if you can do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Most people are going to get comfy, right? And the more comfortable you are and the more willing you are to relax and get comfortable. Like in your experience, you knew this person, they're a friend, right? So pretty easy to get comfy with them. And then the idea is once you get in there, you get into a deep focus state. For some people, it's easier to do that with their eyes open or their eyes closed. Some people, it's easier to give them a bunch of images so that way they can choose which one they want to follow on. Some people, it's easier for them to just focus on one and drift off. There's lots of different ways to get into that state. But once you're there, most hypnotherapy is about using imagery. They call it like a hypno journey, where you're going to go through a series of experiences or images. For me, in my practice, I like to use images that person shared with me, some stories they've shared with me. Typically, we try to focus on the positives that they've had. So like if they have a belief about themselves, like I'm not enough or I'm not lovable or I don't matter, or some of those things that show up in our subconscious that always kind of activate us when we feel triggered, like you mentioned earlier. Well, there's a ton of examples out there where that didn't happen, where we did feel like more than enough, where we did feel loved, where we did feel like we were cared for, we mattered. And so it's getting those stories from people and then feeding them back to them in that state. One, it feels good. Two, when you come out of that state, it makes it easier for your body and your nervous system to naturally be able to go back to those experiences instead of always filtering them out and zooming in on those negative ones. Because we do have a negativity bias, right? It's a natural thing. That bush is rumbling, it's either lunch or I could be lunch. I better get out of here because it's safer to, live to fight another day kind of vibe instead of going all in. But that default kind of sets us up for some trouble. So what I like about hypnotherapy is being able to take that positivity, feed it back into that nervous system, make it easier to experience that more spontaneously as you go throughout your day. And then also to make it a little bit easier for you to experience some of those negative states when they do show up, those subconscious beliefs and those emotions. Because if they're smaller relative to all the positive, they're not so overwhelming. They're just a little bit easier to handle or digest and work through. And so then we don't have to like revert back to our coping mechanisms just to be okay. So it's like slowly taking that crutch away, not because like we're kicking it out from you and like walk on that limping ankle, right? It's like, no, okay, we got the crutch here. The ankle's strong now. Okay, great. Now that we have that hanging out, like, can we make it so that way it's less dangerous of an environment for you to walk around in? And so then you can take that crutch away. You can take kind of those little things we do to stay okay. For some people, it's like a few drinks. For some people, something else, right? And so I do think that piece is really enjoyable to be a part of in hypnotherapy versus a lot of other therapeutic interventions. You're sometimes like wrestling with those thoughts like head on, and that can be really challenging, especially if you're having a rough day that day, right? So
see, the way you talk about this too is like it brings me back from me laying down on my friend's couch there, and that's exactly what it was. Is like she's like picking, you know what I mean, like going in and it's just, yeah, it's, thank you, like it's kind of cool, you explaining this and me kind of sitting back reflecting. I'm like, okay, cool, that's what she was doing, so thank you. See, like I said, this is awesome. I was excited to have this conversation with you.
yeah,
What would you say? Like, I would have to say, like, for people that believe that hypnos doesn't work, come try it, right? I would say, right, come try it, because I mean, for me, I didn't think so, and I mean, it was. I woke up and I felt, God, I can't even say, like lighter, definitely,
yeah,
lighter, and I felt like. I mean, there's still lots of work to be done. We just scraped a little bit, right? It was one session,
sure.
but I felt like a door opened up, and there's like just that little bit of progress, but that little bit of progress goes a long way, right? It's that 1 degree each day, right? That'll
Yeah,
change everything.
yeah.
So it's,
I love
yeah,
that
go ahead.
imagery of the open door. I think that's great.
Hmm.
Open the door. There's something in there, right? Yeah. And I do think that's a great call. Like, oh, if you don't think you can be hypnotized, call someone up, call the bluff, drop the
Yeah,
money down. What do you got to lose, right?
yeah.
But I do think that there are some people that have a harder time being into a full state of hypnosis, like where they're like drifting and they're aware that they're drifting and then coming back. There's some people
What do
that's
you mean
hard for them
drifting?
to.
Story, like
So
fighting
like you
themselves, you mean?
said, so like when you said you came back awake, you weren't really asleep, but there was something that shifted, right? Some people have a hard time feeling and noticing that shift even. It's even more subtle for them than that. And that's like about 15 to 20% of the population. The interesting part is it still works for them. Just their experience of it isn't quite as robust as yours. So, there's people out there that swear that they can drink tequila and they'll never get drunk, but you give them some vodka and they're wasted off of 2 shots, right? Like whatever, I don't, I'm not a chemist. I don't know how their personal biology works with that stuff, right? But
Hmm.
there are a ton of people scientifically, I think it's something like 60% of the population that are very susceptible. And out of those people, there are some that are extremely susceptible where like it is very effective for them. And that's like most like distribution of most interventions, whether that's, cannabis for some people, there's like people that love it, that really respond, there's people that don't. And then same thing with different medications that are prescribed over the counter. There's some people that really respond and there's some people that don't respond that much. So hypnotherapy is very similar that way. Difference is alcohol and cannabis you have to process out of your system.
Yeah,
This one you
this is
don't.
healthy. This
This
is
is
healthy.
there's no
Yeah,
diminishing returns on this one. The more you do it, it's relaxing and you feel good. I mean, what's the
yeah.
The
What do you
downside.
got to lose? Like, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, I mean, at the end, like, this is your mental health. If you want to feel better, you're gonna fork up whatever money in order to fix yourself. I mean, you're sitting at home,
Sure.
you're probably ordering Uber Eats, McDonald's. There's a fucking Big Mac meal or whatever. You know what I mean? Save that money and put it
Yeah.
towards fixing yourself instead of shoving a cheeseburger down your throat. You know what I mean? It's that simple. Save some coffee money a day. You know, like, this is to fix
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah. You're definitely worth the investment. I will say that. No matter
Cool.
what, no matter who you are, what you're going through, you're worth investing in. That's for sure. No doubt about that. It may not,
I'm losing you.
hypnosis may not be the best thing for you, but
Sorry, you're
there's only
getting
one
a
way to
little
find out.
choppy there.
Oh, sorry about that.
No, you're good, bro.
I was saying that everybody's definitely worth investing in, no matter what, whether that's in hypnosis or not. Hey, only you can tell, but it's worth trying, I guess.
Yes, definitely. I mean, yeah, exactly. It's up to the person, right? And we'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll see. I guess
See.
not we will see, but I mean, like, whoever the person will see.
Yeah. Or come back and comment on the episode. Let us know, right?
There you go. Yeah, yeah. Please leave a comment. Let us know how it worked for you, please.
Yeah.
I do want to say, what's one myth that you would like to clear up about hypnotherapy, if you could?
Yeah. So if you go to a stage show, like, or you've been to like a hypnotist stage show, there's a magic trick that's going on there. And it's not actual magic. Just like every magic trick is kind of like an illusion or a sleight of hand. There are people that are walking into that show that are already in a state of hypnosis. And then there are people that are outgoing. They don't mind doing silly things in front of a crowd of people. All that person on stage is doing is sorting those people. Who's already in a state of hypnosis and who's already excited to do silly stuff. Okay, great. Let's put them on stage and let's get them to do some entertaining things for us. So there's nothing magical happening on stage. And in fact, that person's not doing anything except for asking two questions. Do you like being silly? And are you already in a state of hypnosis? Okay, great. Now we can do a show. Like, that's it. That's all they're doing. If you're going to go see a hypnotherapist, they're never going to ask you to cluck like a chicken. They're never going to be able to ask you to do something you don't want to do. And you may not be the person that wants to cluck like a chicken, but that doesn't mean that that person on stage doing that didn't want to do that. They are excited to be on stage being silly for your entertainment. Next time that you go to one of those shows and you see them, you can like pat them on the back and say, thanks for being a silly person. I appreciated it.
And they're probably not even getting paid for it, too. They're just wanting to have some fun, probably.
Yeah, it's just like karaoke, right? You know, getting up there and being silly, you know?
Fair enough. I do have here. Would you say, in your practice and stuff? What can someone do to start building their self-worth today?
Yeah, I think being kinder to yourself is probably the easiest way to do it. And if you kind of like bristle at like, oh, being kind to myself, that shows like how much opportunity there is actually there to build your self-worth. Because if like 4-year-old you or 8-year-old you or 10-year-old you was to walk up to you and be like, hey, look at this cool thing I did. And you weren't like, oh yeah, that is cool. What the heck? Hell yeah. Like, we would do that. Like, we all would do that. Just like you do that with your daughter when you're having a good day and you're feeling like able to engage, right? Like, that is what we're looking for. But being able to do that for yourself in real time now as an adult is one of the easiest, simplest things you could do. And maybe you got to like pull up a picture of yourself from when you were a little kid and it's easier to pretend to say it to that version of yourself. But if you can say it to yourself like, hey, this cool thing happened today and you did that. That's pretty cool. Nice job. Like, that in of itself, a bunch of those little things adding up, even if it's like you flipped the eggs and you didn't break any of the yolks, that's pretty cool. I mean, there's no like Nobel Prize cool, but that doesn't matter. You're not trying to, sit for a Nobel Prize. Just recognizing those moments where you can kind of give yourself some credit just for little things, I think is pretty cool.
I definitely gotta do that more, to be honest with you. I mean, like, even with like my podcast, I do some great things, I would say, right? But I don't take enough credit for myself, I really don't. I mean, just the other day, we were in like 43 countries. Now we're in 53. We just jumped 10, and it's growing fast and it's beautiful. And I appreciate everybody listening. And I think it's just amazing, and I love everybody just to listen. I think this is powerful conversations with powerful guests like yourself and so on that come and talk about these important things that we should be doing or need in our life, right? So it's just, but I don't know. To me, I feel like I'm not there yet. It's not enough. My goalpost is always moving because
Yeah.
I'm a bit of a perfectionist, I guess you could say. It's
Sure.
hard, but I need to
Yeah.
do that. So thank you for reminding me. I just want to. I'm just as normal and fucked up as everybody else in this world, and I just want to put that out there. Right? Just because I have a podcast, like, no, man, I got problems. I'm a human being. So I just want to be vulnerable, say that as well. It's like I need to start doing that. So thank you for reminding me, because it's mindset, and you're setting that up for like The Secret, like the book The Secret, or the movie The Secret, right? Putting out good things all the time too. So not only yourself, but putting it also out, good affirmations and stuff will help you as well.
Yeah.
Things I'm slacking that I used to do all the time, I gotta get back into it.
Did it today, right there. 53 countries. What? That's a big deal.
There,
Congratulations.
yeah.
That's cool.
Thank you, man. Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah, and it's growing, and it's been a fun experience, and meeting wonderful people like yourself, and just making a beautiful community. It's pretty cool.
It's really cool.
So I did a little bit of research up on you and found some stuff, and I would like to know, how do you help people deal with imposter syndrome? I always find that actually very interesting.
Yeah. So imposter syndrome in my mind is actually like a good thing. And I know it's kind of strange to say. So let me share about that a little bit.
No problem.
If you feel like you are an imposter, it means that you notice how much better something could be. It means you're noticing the gap. And that's cool, because that means you're like, oh man, we got work to do here. All right. But what it's not noticing is all the work you've done. And so if we just focus on that gap all the time and we forget that other stuff, eventually that can take a toll on us, because we're always worried about the negative, not focusing on that positive. And when that tips the scales and we're having a bad day, it can put us in a downward spiral. And it's hard to get out of that sometimes once we're there, right? But anybody that doesn't ever notice the gap, that's actually kind of dangerous. That's like a sign that like they aren't as self-aware as hopefully you would want them. They don't notice that there's more opportunity. They're like, no, everything's great all the time. You're like, is it really great all the time? Like that also might not be a healthy perspective either.
Mhm.
Not everything is terrible. Not everything is perfect. In fact, nothing's perfect and nothing is wholly terrible. There's always something good and something that could be better. So those like absolutist mindsets are really challenging, I think, for a lot of people to get in. So one, if you're feeling like an imposter, it's like, oh, cool. You can give yourself credit for noticing that gap and for not being an absolutist person. Like you are able to see change and growth. And what's interesting with the people I work with is most of the people that acutely feel imposter syndrome, it's actually indicative of like how much work they've done. Like they may have grown up in an environment that was really challenging, and now they find themselves in a completely different environment, almost to where they don't feel like they're like grateful. They're like grateful and humbled by the environment they find themselves in, but like that they're not deserving of it, because it feels such a big change from how they started, that feeling is actually what's perpetuating that imposter syndrome. And so I think that's really interesting, that those people have done that much effort, that much work, and they've been noticing that gap for so long, but they haven't noticed that positive change for so long either. And so that's kind of slowing down, rebuilding it in, and authentically, not like I should feel this, but like, no, like when was a moment where you actually did, where that positive feeling like snuck through and actually showed up? Okay, let's make that bigger. Like how do we zoom in on that and balance it out a little?
So would you say it's almost too, in a sense, like it could be a good thing too, because you're reinventing yourself in a sense too? You know what I mean? You're becoming
Absolutely.
this, I guess, this brand new star. You know what I mean? So is that how you guys kind of spin it too, in a sense, like when someone's
Yeah.
growing out of that? Yeah, I think that would, like, yeah, for me, from an outsider with no medical experience or schooling, like that's how I would see it, right?
Yeah,
Does that make
absolutely.
sense?
No, for sure.
Yeah.
It's a complete, it shows like how much you've grown. It's a marker
Yeah.
of that progress and that transformation that you've gone through, to where sometimes you don't even recognize yourself in your own life.
Yeah.
Wow. Like that is a big amount of change. And sometimes our mind can't keep up with that. Like a more concrete example of that is if someone's in a traumatic accident and they lose a limb, their brain has a hard time going from like, no, I have a leg, to like, oh, I have no leg. And like the amount of time that it takes for the brain to catch up, to make new neural circuitry to account for that change, is really wild. Like it is a physical injury, but it has a mental component, because when you go to think about how to get up and move and do everything you've ever done your whole life, you've done it with that leg. Now you don't have it. You have to relearn all of that stuff and update all of your beliefs about like how you walk, how you move, how you get up and off the toilet, how you drive a car. And that takes new identity, new beliefs about yourself, but new neural pathways. That's also true when you've gone through a traumatic and dramatic transformative change from different lifestyles. And it doesn't always like hang out and keep up with people. You know, you'll hear people tell stories that you're like, wow, that was your history. I would have never guessed that that's how you grew up and that's where you've come from and that's everything you've experienced based upon who I see you as you are now. Reconciling those two people is not easy. It takes a lot of effort. And sometimes that imposter syndrome is an example of some of that behind the scenes.
And then letting go is probably one of the toughest things because you're so used to being the person's so used to being that person, you know,
Yep.
or maybe not knowing who they are really at the end of the day, and then growing. And let's face it, as human beings, and I say this all the time on multiple episodes, is, you know, as humans, we always want certainty, so we're scared of the uncertainty, you know, and
Yep.
change, right? So
Who am I
definitely.
without that? Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely mind battle, like your mind definitely, right? Not only just dealing with everything, but then also that on top, definitely. So if you're dealing with that, my heart goes out for you, and you know who to reach. All the info will be down below, definitely. So I do want to ask one more thing. I got two more questions for you. One, we're getting to the end, but I do want to ask one thing about leadership. What did you see without, like, you know, pointing out like anything, like anybody, anything? What do you think is the number one thing that leaders struggle with when they come to you? Like, what would you say? Like, what's the majority of like the big thing with
Yeah,
yeah.
I think a lot of, if we take an analogy of like the captain of a ship, right? A lot of times they're thinking about like, okay, we got to get the ship there safely. We have a place we're trying to get, right? And so their focus is on the outcome. The focus is on how to get there more efficiently. And I think there was probably a time and a place where that was like the model of leadership. But I don't think we live in that world anymore. I think most people know what they need to do to get where they're going. And you could like turn and burn different people and they would know how to get that ship there safely. So now a leader's job isn't so much that outcome. It's caring for the people that are there in front of them while they work on getting that outcome. And I think that transition into leadership where you're really stepping into the role is like a wake up call for a lot of people. I know it was for me, where I went from like, okay, we're doing the job. This is how we do the job. We do it well, to being like, okay, you're doing the job. Oh, and you're having a hard time. Whose job is it to care for that person while they're having a hard time trying to do that job? And you're looking around and you're like, oh, dang, I guess it's me. And so there are models of leadership where our leaders are now our stand-ins for our attachment figures. They are the parental figures that little kids looked up to in the family unit, but they're that same thing, but they're not little kids, they're adults. And they have ideas and beliefs and values, and doing that with a kid is very different than doing that with a full-grown adult, maybe older than you, maybe you're a senior. But that's the job. Like, that's the actual real work of leadership and relational leadership, and trying to figure out how to do that with that person in front of you. What do they need? How can they receive care and support? And how do you make their life just a little bit easier so they can do the job so you can get to where you're going? Because they're the ones doing it, not you, right?
And what do you think too? Like, do you think that it affects as well people when, say, you're the person that's like, say your foreman or your boss or whoever leader is ahead of you is actually a
Yep.
lot younger than you, and you're a lot older, but you've been doing this, you know? Does does that come into play too? Like, that must, you know, that's, I mean, I've ran in, like, I'm only 41, so I'm not like that old, right? But I mean, but I've ran into situations like that too. Well, my daughter thinks I'm super old. I was
Right.
roaming
It's
with
relative,
the
right?
dinosaurs, right? But I mean, I've ran into situations like that, but I'm totally different, right? Like, I'm all about respect. You know, that person worked hard or whatever. Maybe he didn't, whoever, but he's in that position, and I gotta respect it. I'm not, you know what I mean? That's his job. This is my job, right? At the end of the day, I know it's hard. Like, I work with a lot of old guys when I was a carpenter, and I'm telling you, man, back in the day when I was a carpenter, young in there, man, they would throw your hammer at you if you didn't, you know. Oh, it was brutal, right? It was brutal, you know. But now it's
Absolutely.
a whole different ball game. And like the mental health thing, though, it's true. Like, I see it. That a lot of companies are stepping up with this whole mental health stuff too, which is
Yep.
beautiful. But God, I lost train of thought. I was just going off there. Sorry.
Being a younger person,
Yeah,
being in a
and that's
leadership
right.
role with people that are older than you,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah,
It's a
yeah.
challenge. There's a challenge. But leadership isn't about age. It's not even about seniority. It's about an ethic of care. It's about caring for the people around you, right? And if you do try to do that command and control style, hierarchical, I'm the boss, look at my title, look at my paycheck, you're going to get exactly that hammer thrown at you, and you probably deserve it.
Mm-hmm.
Not
Yeah,
really.
yeah,
That's like, I'm joking, just so we're
yeah.
clear.
No, I wasn't like that. I wasn't like that. I was new in the thing, and I messed up on a wall. I was out 1 inch. It wasn't even my fault. It was the layout guys, but I was following the layout. But I should have double checked. And he was having a bad day. His wife left him, and he was just taking it out on everybody. So, but luckily he missed me. Thank God, right? So,
lucky for him and for you, right? Jeez.
Well, yeah, that's why both of us. But I was, oh God, I was what 26, I think, when that happened. 27 when that happened. So yeah. Well, change. The rules are changed now. The rules are changed.
They're always
Thank
changing.
God. Yeah. So we are at the end. So if you could, you just before I want to ask one last question.
Yeah.
And if you had one word of advice to everybody on this podcast, everybody listening in the world, what would it be?
Yeah. So I like to say that, like, we've been raised in this like myth that if you really want to be successful in life, you're got to be willing to sacrifice like your health, your relationships, to like put in that hard work and that effort. And I actually think that's the exact opposite of like what real lasting success comes from. I feel like real lasting success comes from and is built through your well-being, not at its expense. Because if you're there and you're caring for yourself and the things that you need to be okay, you're going to get more shots. You're going to get more time and attention. You're going to have more chances to fail, so you have more opportunities to succeed all the way through there. And you're going to misstep a bunch of this stuff that really you and I have talked about, where it catches up to you and really can throw not just a hammer at you, but even worse, right? And so, that's the thought I really kind of was a big wake-up call for me. And I've consistently seen it with my clients and everyone I've worked with since then. But the more they care about their own well-being, the better they get, the better the work becomes, the better everybody else around them is. And so trusting yourself to know that you're worth investing in, I think, is hard to do if you haven't done it before and you believe that sacrifice is the key. I'm not saying you don't have to work hard, but at like what cost, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's interesting.
That's beautiful, man. And like I say, pick your heart, right? You got to pick your heart, right?
Pick your heart. Yeah.
Pick your heart, man. Well, if you could plug all your stuff one more time for anybody listening, and it'll be also in the description. And please reach out to Garrett and go get hypnos and fix yourself, because we all need to fix ourselves. We all do.
Yep. Picking your heart. I love it. Yeah. So gnosistherapy.com, Gnosis Therapy at LinkedIn, Gnosis Therapy on Instagram. We'd love to see you there. If you had a question or a comment, or if you're like, man, what the heck was you talking about on this? This seems like BS. Call me out. I would love to have that conversation with you, because it means you're paying attention and you're engaged. Like, let's talk,
Hell yeah. Awesome, man. I just want to say thank you. I really appreciate, reaching out. And I know it was a little bit of, it was a crazy time, you know, emails back and forth there. I was got all mixed up. I appreciate it. I'm glad to have you on here. I had a great conversation. I'd love to have you back anytime you want. You're more than welcome to come back. And I just want to say you're part of the Raw Minds family now, man. So welcome to the rest of the world for Raw Minds here, brother.
All 53 countries so far. Thanks, Erick.
So far and growing, man. Thank you, brother. Okay, well, you take it easy, and thank you, everybody, for listening, and we'll see you next week. See you later. Bye. Awesome, man. Everybody.